The groups were asked to identify which bits of equipment were most important, and their decisions were compared to the correct answers supplied by NASA. Some of groups held their meeting standing up, and the others held them sitting down. In hunter-gatherer times, sticking with social norms, like saying thank you when someone gives you something, or waiting your turn for food, was a way to someone gives you something, or waiting your turn for food, was a way to keep tight-knit groups together and keep out anyone who might be a threat. The just world hypothesis is a cognitive bias in which we as human beings try to make sense of a world that is unfortunately unjust. We like to believe noble acts lead to reward, and bad actions result in punishment. So when we see bad things happen to good people and good to bad, the main problem we have isn't an issue of actually doing the work, it's just starting. Starting is the hardest part. So how do we make it easier? Take your large task and break it into something small. Once you think you've made it small, make it even smaller than that. That can be something as simple as doing my laundry or washing dishes. Once I've built the momentum of getting something small done, having a small victory, it becomes much easier to step it up to something a little bigger. Of course, trying to rectify this lack of child-centered design is not an easy task, but one that requires the cooperation and goodwill of many sectors. It will need to involve consultation with technology, education, legal, and policy experts. Making cans from recycled aluminium uses 95% less energy than mining and using raw materials. Recycling steel saves 60%, as does recycling paper, so it boils down to how quickly we're able to remake the way we make things. About 80 million tons of fish are harvested annually. This volume is enough to feed all Filipinos with their annual fish consumption for 20 years. And there are currently about 60 million people working in the fishing industry globally. But on a global scale, 33% of fisheries are overfished, meaning too many fish are being harvested. One way in which curators differ from other historians is therefore in terms of how we interrogate the past, what elements we use to communicate the past. Most academic historians are trained very much in the discipline of words, and they concentrate on words still today, although it is changing a little bit. Socialism, the word invented in the late 1810s, communism, the word first appeared in 1840. None of these things were words, much less ideologies, before the French Revolution, and the French Revolution gives birth to much of the modern political world. This animal magnetism can be a lifesaver, and one field off Portugal triggers the turtles to turn south. If they don't, they likely die, swept into frigid North Atlantic waters. In one lab test, turtles responded to magnetic field similarly to what they would encounter off the coast of Florida. The great majority of them turned southeast. Telescopes and eyes are both tools for collecting and detecting light. In fact, telescopes can be thought of as bigger, more powerful eyes. The type of lenses and mirrors and their arrangement determine some of the features of the telescope. To pass the test, a computer must be able to replace one of the players without substantially changing the results. In other words, a computer would be considered intelligent if its conversation couldn't be easily distinguished from a human's. We have a shortage in talent base within countries and between countries, have an intense battle between companies to hire the most talented workers and also between countries, which are looking to recruit talented young people, talented young immigrants. As the sea levels again rose at the terminus of the most recent glacial period, some 10,000 years ago, the Australian continent once more became a separated landmass.